Just when shit looks out of reach, I reach back like 1-3, like, what's up, my dudes? The entire secret to MX bikes has now been discovered by ya boy. Okay, so this is pretty ground-shattering. This is going to change the entire game for you if you don't already know about this. And to all of you guys that do already know about this, you're going to be like, duh, Spence, you're stupid. We've known about this forever. And there was a large portion of you guys that were kind of trying to tell me to do this, but not really in a full enough way to where it made enough sense. And you'll know what I'm talking about here in a second. So the entire secret to MX bikes, basically the whole game, is all based around your field of view and having the camera to lock to the bike or not lock to the bike. That's literally the entire game, okay? And the whole thing about it is you basically have to exploit the game to even get it to where it makes enough of an effect to, like what I'm talking about here. So I've been trying to figure out this whole time I've been playing MX bikes, like, why does these dudes' gameplay on YouTube look so much different and look like they're going 3 times as fast and all this kind of crap, right? I've been trying to figure it out. And, like, why does it feel like all of the rhythm lanes feel shorter than they should and all this kind of stuff? Because I went in there and I saw all your guys' comments talking about field of view and all that stuff. And I went in there and I tried the highest field of view inside of the game. And it didn't affect that. It didn't really change that. I was like, what are these people talking about? So the whole thing is you got to go in there to the actual folders of the game. Literally, Poboso, let me see what it is here. You got to go to your Poboso folder, MX Bikes, Profiles folder, and then click on your profile. Then you go down to the actual profile. It looks like it's kind of a different kind of file. It's a text file, right? So you go down to that and you click on that, and this pulls up all of your inner settings within the game that you can't access normally inside of the game. I know that shit sounds insane, but like, this is how you change the road level on a track. This is how you do a lot of things. But the whole thing here that I'm talking about specifically is you can go in here and literally change your field of view to higher than you can even have it inside of the game, higher than you can even change it inside of the game. That's why I'm kind of calling this a secret here. Even though a lot of people know about it, it's kind of a secret in a way because you can't even access it normally in the game. You have to literally go completely outside of the game into the files of the game and change a little number in the files of the game to even be able to access this, okay? This is fucking insane to say the least. But this changes everything about the game. When you have a higher field of view than what you can have normally in the game, which I think is like 110 field of view, when you start going higher than that, in combination with having the camera locked to the bike turned off, so you have that more free first-person camera, so you don't want to have locked to the bike turned on. That's going to make everything more difficult, I'm just telling you. But when you have it where it's not locked to the bike, and then at least like higher field of view than 115, 120, it's going to totally change the game for you forever. Like, this is just so insane to me that MX Bikes is like this because, you know, a lot of you guys have been commenting saying things like, and at first I didn't even give a shit enough about the game to even get this deep into it. Like I told you boys, just give me some time to get into the game a little bit and care enough about the game, and I'll figure out all this little shit. I've done that with MX Simulator. I'm very well capable of figuring all this out. It's just, it's got to get to that point to where I care enough about the game to even do that. And by the way, in this gameplay, I'm showing you 2 different field of views on the same track, okay? And it's like these 2 different gameplays are like 2 or 3 days apart, okay? So my skill level is exactly the same. My speed is exactly the same in both of these different gameplays. But it literally looks like I'm going twice as fast on one of the gameplays than the other, okay? So the thing that confuses me the most about all this is the fact that, like, with MX Simulator, it feels more like you can basically just have, you know, a lot of different kind of field of views and stuff like that, and it doesn't even have a lock to the bike or not lock to the bike camera setting in it, so that's just everybody's on the same playing field there. But MX Simulator feels like you can kind of have, some people run a higher field of view, a little bit lower of a field of view, and everybody's kind of in the same realm, right? But with MX bikes, it feels like if you do not literally run this exact thing, you're at a disadvantage. I don't know why that's the case. And the other craziest thing about it too is it's not how the game is set up by default from Poboso, right? When you first get into the game, all the default camera settings are literally the most polar opposite than what I'm talking about here as far as making the game way easier for you. Okay? I just don't understand why Poboso would not have it to where it was automatically not locked to the bike and then automatically at least like 115 field of view or higher. It's so weird to me that it's like you got to literally come in here and change settings in the folders of the game to even get really the full experience of the game. That is so bizarre. That's why this whole time I never really understood what you guys were saying when you said raise your field of view, because I could only raise my field of view, what I thought, to the maximum that you could inside of the game. I didn't realize there was this whole little trick to going into the folders and then raising your field of view higher than you're supposed to be able to. And that's how all these dudes' gameplay is on YouTube, all these pros' gameplay is, where it looks like they're really far away, from the front fender, right? And when they turn in a corner, it really looks like they're, kind of laying the bike over in the corner. And it looks like they're going, lightning speed fast on the track. That is literally all in your field of view. That's everything to that. It's everything, bro. It makes the distance of the rhythm lanes feel more proper. I'd reviewed a couple of tracks here recently saying, man, these rhythm lanes feel short. There's just something weird with MX bikes where everything just feels like shorter distance than it should. Okay? So what happens is when you run this higher field of view, like 115, 120 or higher, the things that happen is the game becomes literally 5 times easier right away. By the way, I was going to tell you guys, in both these different gameplays, you're saying one of them I have the higher field of view, and the other one I don't. And so you should be able to see the comparison there. But what it does whenever you run this higher field of view than you're supposed to be able to have in the game is it makes the game 5 times easier because you don't feel the roughness as much. You don't feel the bounce as much. And it just makes everything like you have more time to see where you're going in the corner because it doesn't seem like you get to the corner as quickly, so it gives you more time to see everything. Your jump landings feel extended compared to if you have a lower field of view in the game, so it feels like it's easier to land everything. It's just fucking weird. But everything becomes easier. And it also makes all the jumps feel like you're not getting as high off the ground. So all of your jumps don't feel as scary or, oh my God, I'm jumping to the moon and back on this big-ass James Stewart compound jump. It makes all your jumps feel easier, okay? It makes the game so much easier. It's easier to see your whips. It's easier to hold the gas around a corner because it kind of does that more natural laying over the bike. It makes all the jumps feel smaller, so it just makes everything easier. And when you don't have it locked to the bike, that's really where you feel the roughness the worst, is if you have that little setting set to lock to the bike and then you don't have a field of view that's higher than what you can have in the game, which is like 110. That's what makes that pogo feeling. That's what makes that roughness feeling like it's shaking you to death. That's what does all that. I swear to God, this is so crazy. It's not even really about the gameplay or your skill level as much as it is the fucking camera settings. Oh my God. Like, what even is this shit? It's just so weird because it's not like that at all in MX Simulator. Not even close to being like that on MX Sim. It's just so weird, but you should be able to just see it in the gameplay, the difference here. If you see my gameplay with a low field of view, you're going to think I'm going at like a a beginner amateur level speed. And then when you see my gameplay in the higher field of view, it's going to look like I'm damn near fucking pro in the game. That's how different it looks. But again, the reason why I'm saying this is not as simple as you think, like, how did you not know this, Spencer? Oh, and all you dudes that are saying, well, I told you to raise your field of view, Spencer, and all this crap, you don't understand. You can't even get your field of view that high inside of the settings of the game. You have to go into the files of the game to even do that. Your generic person, every standard population of person is not just going to understand that they have to go in there and exploit the files of the game to get their field of view that high. Why Paboso just doesn't allow you to raise your field of view plumb up to like 130, 140 just in the game settings, why they don't have that in there yet, I have no idea. Because this is literally how 99.99% of these pros in the game and all this super fast gameplay you see on YouTube, that's what they're running. At least 120 field of view or higher. And you literally can't even get that high of a field of view inside the settings of the game. Something's got to change here because this is so beginner unfriendly that it's just unbelievable. Like, Paboso, for the love of God, make the default camera settings not locked to the bike and then at least 115, 120 field of view. At least. That should be your default camera settings. Period. Because it's going to make you be able to go literally 10 times as fast as you could compared to the default camera settings in the game. Okay? And by the way, I just wanted to say, I'm still running stock suspension in this bitch. Stock. Literally stock, okay? And I have increased my speed, or look like I'm going as fast, how you want to call it. But it does a weird thing too, though. Like I'm saying, it allows you to go faster because it's not bouncing your screen as much. The roughness doesn't feel as rough with the higher field of view. The jumps don't feel as big with the higher field of view. It makes everything easier. So I have literally gotten at least 5 times as fast in this game. Not from getting more skill in the game, not from really playing the game all that much more, but from literally just changing camera settings and going in there and exploiting the camera settings of the game. That's the whole secret to MX bikes. If you're in there playing with lock to the bike and any lower field of view than like 115 or 120, you're at a disadvantage, period. Period. There's nothing else to say to it. You're just at a disadvantage. So either way, yeah, this video just had to be made here. And it's not just like, oh my God, yeah, of course, Spence. Some of you guys that were telling me, dude, if you do this, this, and this with your camera settings, it'll feel more like MX Simulator and feel better. Well, I don't think this raising your field of view super high and having it not locked to the bike, that doesn't make it feel more like MX Simulator. What it does is it makes it feel more like you're in there on a first-person camera setting in MX vs. ATV All Out, or like you're in there on the PC modded first-person camera setting on Reflex. If some of you guys kind of know what that feels like, that's more like what this makes it feel. It's not like MX Simulator. It's a very the having it not locked to the bike and that super high field of view makes it a different animal than MX Sim. So no, it's not like getting it to feel more like Sim. It's getting it to feel more like this whole different thing that just makes the game easier. That's all it really is at the end of the day. I mean, straight up, that's all that it really does when you raise your field of view that high. But the whole fucking crazy thing is you can't even do that in the settings of the game. You have to know how to go into the little file folder and go in there to the perfect setting. And the reason why you know that Paboso never intended for this to be in the game, never really intended for you to be able to raise your field of view that high, is because when you go in there in the folders and actually change that to a higher field of view, if you even click on the settings inside of the game at that point, it will automatically then revert your field of view back to the highest that it can be inside of the game, which is 110. Right? Even if you don't touch anything in your settings menu, if you just click on the settings and don't touch anything, it will lower it back to the highest that it can be inside of the game, even if you have it set in the folders. So what you have to do is, you have to go set your field of view in the fucking folders to like 115, 120 or higher, and then go in the game and just ride on a track. You can't even click on your settings at all, or it'll revert it back down to like 110, right? This is so just insane, dude. It's an exploit, like straight up. People are exploiting the field of view of MX bikes to get that look that you see in damn near all of those pro gameplays on YouTube. That's how they've achieved that. I knew there was some little secret to it. I knew there was some little, what the hell are these boys doing? This ain't just a skill thing here, like, period. It's just not. I knew that. I'm not saying there's no skill involved. There obviously is, but what I'm getting at, though, is like you take one person with the default camera settings, you take another person with a field of view of 115 or more and not locked to the bike. If you take that same person and set them down with both those different settings, I guarantee they'll go at least 5 times faster on the track with the exploited higher field of view and not locked to the bike settings than they would with the default camera settings. That's just a camera thing. That's not even a skill thing. That's not even a gameplay. That's just a camera setting. It's just how you're perceiving everything. And that's another reason why I don't understand why Poboso doesn't just automatically put it that way in the game by default, because it makes all the lanes and the distances of the lanes on the tracks feel more natural and normal than when you have it on default. But one thing, like I said, that it does is it makes the jumps feel smaller. Like you don't jump as high up in the air as you think you should. So even though it makes your lanes feel more longer like they should, well, then it starts to make your jumps not feel as tall as they should. And you don't get up high enough in the air as you think you would, which is a weird little thing to it too. So even though it makes it feel better in the distance thing, it almost makes it feel more unrealistic and too small of scaling when it comes to the jumps then at that point when you start raising your field of view. So if everybody's going to start riding with this super ridiculous high field of view, people are going to have to start making their jumps bigger on the tracks to combat that and apply to that, because, raising your field of view doesn't just make everything look better. It makes everything easier, that's for sure, but it changes your jumps. It changes the way the jumps look. They don't look as big, as tall as they should then at that point. So this is so weird. There's like so many ins and outs to this shit, I can't even explain it. But if you're a beginner in this game, for the love of God, turn the lock to the bike setting off and have at least field of view 115 to 120 or higher. And to be able to achieve that, you got to go in, like I said, the folders. I'll say it one more time here for you guys, just so you know. You got to go to your Poboso folder. That should be in your C, like documents, C drive type shit. This PC, documents, Poboso folder, MX bikes, profiles, whatever your name of your profile is. And then go down to the actual profile text file inside of that. And once you click on that, that will pull up all these different things like, your race number, all your different settings within the game. You know what I'm saying? It'll pull up all that stuff. And you got to scroll down to the point where you get to scroll down to where it says view. It's almost like halfway down the list of crap here. It'll have FOV right there at the very top. And you can literally change that number to, I'm assuming, anything. See, this allows you to change your settings to whatever the fuck you want instead of having the limitation of how high it lets you put something inside of the settings of the actual game, right? So this is kind of similar to what, if you've ever seen them weird-ass videos of, like, I think they did it for World of Warcraft at one point or some crap, where they'll set their view distance to 5 times higher than you can in the game normally, and it'll let you see, like, shit that you could never see in the game normally. That's kind of like what this is right here. But it's an exploit, no doubt about it. I mean, you're changing a setting that's not even really a setting inside of the game, or at least to a level that you can't inside of the game. I'm not real big on exploits. That's why I don't like changing things outside of the game, setting-wise, to change things inside of the game. That's one reason why I never even jacked with this. Number one, I didn't even really know it was like that. But then again, also, I don't like messing with things outside of the internal settings of the game. But anyways, point being of this video, it makes all the difference in the world in this game. It's going to make cornering easier. It's going to make jumping easier. It's going to make going over roughness easier. It's going to make whipping easier. It makes everything easier. But it's just like, it's so funny to me, though, because with MX Simulator, you know, you don't have a lock to the bike or not lock to the bike camera setting, so that's not even applied at all. Then it's just, all you have in MX Sim is field of view. So, with MX Sim, I mean, people run all kinds of field of view in that game. But with MX Bikes, it feels like you literally have to run it at a high field of view setting with not locked to the bike. It feels like that's almost necessity, at least the field of view part. I mean, you might be able to get away with locking it to the bike, but still having a higher field of view. But, like, it's mind-baffling what it does to making the game feel easier. It literally turns the game from feeling like this super complicated, weird thing to, like, literally an arcade game. That's what it does when you raise the field of view upwards of, 120 and higher. It changes it from like a full-blown difficult, experience to literally an arcade game. That's what it feels like to me. And now I've realized that MX Bikes really is more arcadey than MX Simulator, because now I've got it set to the camera settings, or at least close to the camera settings of a bunch of you quote-unquote pros in MX Bikes. So now I'm getting more of that feeling that you guys are getting in the game. And I swear to God, it is almost twice as much of an arcade feeling than what MX Simulator feels like to me. Almost twice as much. It almost feels twice as easy on MX Bikes to do whatever on the track than it is on MX Simulator, right? Like, to go on, for instance, to go on there in the James Stewart compound of MX Sim and really mob around the track like wide ass open and whip the bike backwards and all that, that feels twice as hard to do that on MX Sim than it does to do that same exact thing on that same exact kind of track on MX Bikes. So really, everything that I've been saying this whole time about MX Bikes being more arcadey has been true. It really has. I know a lot of you MX Bikes fanboys get mad when I say that because you feel like I'm basically dogging and trying to act like MX Simulator is better because it feels more like a simulator, more realistic or whatever. You're just mad that I'm saying that because you think I'm offending your perfect little baby egg of MX Bikes that you have. But really, in reality, that's the truth. MX Bikes is more arcadey than MX Simulator, period. It is what it is. I played both games. I've tried every different setting. Now that I've realized you got to go in there and change settings outside of the game of MX Bikes to get this full effect of the game, I've come to realize that MX Bikes is at least twice as easy. Twice as easy to get faster and better in the game than MX Simulator is. At least twice as easy. So all you guys that are acting like MX Bikes is on the same caliber of a simulator as MX Simulator, or it's just as skill gapped as MX Simulator, I don't know what planet you're on, but that's not true. That's fundamentally not true. It's just not. But you boys saw my slower, weird camera gameplay that I used to have of MX Bikes, and you thought I didn't understand the game at all. That's funny, because really, in reality, I did, but, I just didn't have all these little ins and outs and nooks and crannies and exploits of the game figured out to get it to look a certain way, but I understood the game, bro. I did. So anyways, point being of this video is it'll totally change the way you play MX Bikes forever if you raise your field of view higher than 115, 120. It'll change your life forever in the game. So, yeah. Either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. So funny, I talk about the secret to MX Bikes, and it's not even about the gameplay. It's not even about obviously playing the game a bunch, no matter what the fuck. Doing whatever you do a bunch is obviously going to make you better at it, so that's not even really a question. But when it comes to MX Bikes, I'm telling you, more importantly than anything else, like I'm saying, I'm using stock suspension, bro. I've not even fucked with my suspension yet, and I've went from literally can't even get around a track to whipping the bike backwards over the biggest jump on the James Stewart compound and literally wide ass open fourth gear on a 450 over roughness on a track. That's how far I've gotten just by changing camera settings and playing the game just a little bit and changing all these weird ass, exploit camera settings. And I'm going 5 times as fast, and I still have a stock suspension setup. So all you boys that are caught up thinking your suspension is why you're not going very fast on MX bikes, you're completely wrong about that. You probably just don't have your camera settings set to a proper level to where it allows you to go that fast. And it's so dumb because you wouldn't think just a field of view setting would make that much of a difference, but for whatever reason, with MX bikes, when you go higher than the highest you can change in the game, which is 110, when you go higher than that, it just completely changes the game. It actually feels like an exploit of the game. Like you shouldn't be able to experience it in that way. That's how crazy much easier it makes the game feel, right? But anyways, I'm telling you, dog, you're not going slow in MX bikes just because of your suspension. You're not. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm still running stock suspension. And I'm whipping that bitch backwards, wide ass open around at least 80% of the track. Hitting quad jumps and all kinds of shit with stock suspension, okay? You don't have to have modified suspension to go through whoops or go fast around a track or get around a supercross track. You don't have to have any of that, dog. Just have the right camera settings and have a high enough field of view, and I promise you, you can get around this shit. Period. So, either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.